Every teacher, every motivational speaker, every well-meaning adult who ever gave you career advice said the same thing. Follow your passion. Do what you love and you will never work a day in your life. It sounds beautiful, feels true, and almost every successful person you admire has said some version of it at some point. But here is what nobody told you, and this is the thing that changes everything once you actually understand it. The word passion does not mean what you think it means. Not even close. The root of the word passion comes from the Latin word pacio. And pacio does not mean joy. It does not mean love. It does not mean doing what makes you happy. Pacio means suffering. The very first use of the word passion in recorded history was the Passion of Christ, the crucifixion story. Suffering, endurance, pain willingly accepted for something deemed worth it. That is what passion actually is. And somewhere between ancient Latin and your high school career counselor, the entire meaning got flipped upside down. Follow your passion became follow your joy. And that single mistranslation has sent millions of people chasing something that does not exist while abandoning the thing that could actually change their lives. Think about what following your passion actually looks like in practice when you run it out to its logical conclusion. Say you love photography. You are genuinely passionate about it in the emotional sense. You light up when you talk about it, you lose track of time when you are doing it. It feels like the truest expression of who you are. So you go all in. You quit your job. You start a photography business. And here is what actually happens. Within 6 months, the vast majority of your time is not spent taking photographs. It is spent sending invoices, chasing clients, editing in front of a screen for 8 hours straight, dealing with vendors who cancel, managing a calendar, handling complaints, marketing yourself, and doing accounting. The thing you loved, the actual photography, is maybe 5% of your day on a good week. The other 95% is the infrastructure required to keep the 5% alive. And if you are actually successful, if the business grows, that ratio gets worse, not better. Because success in any endeavor means more complexity, more management, more of the things that support the thing you love rather than the thing itself. The passion window shrinks as the success grows. And nobody warned you about that. Here is the second thing nobody told you. Even the 5%, the actual thing you love, stops feeling the way it used to feel once it becomes an obligation. There is a pizza place you love. You go once or twice a year and it is the best meal you have all year. But if someone forced you to eat that exact meal 3 times a day every single day, you would stop loving it within a week. Not because the pizza changed, because you changed. Human beings are wired for novelty and contrast. We love things partly because of their rarity. The thing that lights you up on a Saturday afternoon when you choose it freely feels completely different when it is a deliverable with a deadline attached to it. The joy was never just about the activity. It was about the freedom of choosing it. And the moment the activity becomes a requirement rather than a choice, the emotional experience of doing it transforms in ways that feel like betrayal but are actually just human psychology doing exactly what it is designed to do. This is not a failure of your passion. This is a feature of being human. So if following your passion is a myth, what is actually true? What is the real framework for building a life of meaningful work when the conventional wisdom has been leading people in the wrong direction for decades? It starts with understanding something that most people spend their entire careers trying to avoid. Suffering is not a signal that you are on the wrong path. Suffering is the path. Every path. Without exception. Growing a business is painful. Being stuck in a plateaued business is painful. Watching a business decline is painful. Being an employee who hates their job is painful. Being an employee who loves their job but wants more is painful. Being broke is hard. Being wealthy brings its own entirely different category of hard. Married people want freedom. Single people want connection. Every state of human existence contains its own specific flavor of suffering. The suffering does not go away when you find the right path. The suffering changes form. And understanding that distinction is one of the most practically useful things you can do with your mind. Here is the real question. If suffering is a fixed cost on every path, if you are going to experience difficulty and frustration and pain and doubt regardless of which direction you choose, then the only rational question becomes which path pays the best return on that suffering. Not which path has the least suffering. Not which path feels most comfortable from the outside. Which path, when you endure the suffering it demands, delivers the outcome that matters most to you. Because you will pay the price either way. You might as well pay it for something worth having. Success and failure are on the same road. Failure is just an earlier exit. The person who quits because the path got hard did not avoid suffering. They just traded the suffering of difficulty for the suffering of regret. And regret, as anyone who has carried it for years knows, is one of the heaviest things a human being can hold. This reframes the entire conversation about passion. The goal is not to find work that feels easy. The goal is to find a why, a reason, a purpose, a mission that is powerful enough to make the difficulty of the path feel worth it. Not enjoyable, worth it. There is a critical difference between those two words that most people miss completely. You do not need to enjoy every step of the journey. You need to care enough about where you are going that the steps stop feeling like obstacles and start feeling like the price of admission. Think about the research on pain tolerance. When people were subjected to electric shocks, they tapped out at a consistent threshold. But when those same people were told that every shock they absorbed meant a loved one would not have to feel it, their threshold tripled. The pain did not change. The meaning attached to the pain changed. And meaning is the most powerful pain modifier that exists. Viktor Frankl survived Nazi concentration camps and emerged with one central insight. A person who has a why can endure almost anyhow. The path stops being the point. The destination becomes the engine that pulls you through the path. So what does this actually look like in practice? How do you stop chasing passion as a feeling and start building something real around a why that is powerful enough to carry you through the inevitable difficulty? It starts with an honest audit of what you are actually willing to suffer for. Not what you enjoy, not what feels comfortable. What matters enough to you that you would keep moving toward it even when every signal around you is telling you to stop. For some people that is financial security for their family, providing something for the people they love that they themselves never had. For others it is building something that outlasts them, creating impact that continues after they are gone. For others it is mastery, the relentless pursuit of becoming the best version of their capability in a specific domain. None of these are feelings. All of them are reasons. And reasons are far more durable than feelings when the hard days arrive. Because the hard days always arrive. The second practical shift is to stop measuring your path by how it feels day to day and start measuring it by whether it is moving you toward the thing you said matters. Most people abandon genuinely good paths not because those paths are wrong but because difficulty on the path feels like evidence that the path itself is wrong. It is not. Difficulty on the path is just difficulty on the path. It is the texture of forward movement. If you are growing a business and it is hard, that is not a sign you chose the wrong business. That is a sign you are growing a business. If you are learning a skill and it is frustrating, that is not a sign you lack talent. That is a sign you are learning. The discomfort is not a warning signal. It is a progress signal wearing a warning signal's costume. And the ability to read that signal correctly, to look at difficulty and see evidence of movement rather than evidence of failure, is one of the rarest and most valuable cognitive skills a person can develop. The third shift is the most counterintuitive of all. Stop trying to be passionate about what you do. Start trying to be passionate about why and how you do it. Your what, the specific activity, the specific product, the specific role will change. It always changes. Markets shift. Interests evolve. Circumstances force pivots. But your why, the reason you are doing any of it, and your how, the standard of integrity and excellence you bring to everything you touch, those are internal. They belong to you regardless of what the specific work happens to be on any given day. A person who is passionate about their why can shift their what a dozen times and never lose their sense of direction. A person who is passionate only about their what is one market shift away from an identity crisis. Here is the most honest thing that can be said about building a meaningful life through work. There is no version of it that does not require you to repeatedly do things you do not want to do. There is no business that runs entirely on activities you love. There is no career that delivers only its best moments. There is no path that is all sunshine and no rain. The people who built remarkable things did not find a way to avoid the hard parts. They found a reason to do the hard parts anyway. They gave themselves permission to suffer, permission to struggle, permission to fail and keep going. Not because suffering is noble for its own sake, it is not. but because the thing they were building mattered enough that the cost of building it was worth paying. You need a goal worth suffering for. When you have that, the path stops maturing in the way you feared it would. You stop asking whether every day feels good and start asking whether every day is moving you closer to the thing you decided matters. And the answer to that question, on the hard days, on the worst days, on the days when quitting feels like the only rational option, is the thing that separates the people who arrive from the people who turn back just before they got there. Pick the thing worth suffering for. Do that thing even when it is hard. Realize there is no greener grass on the other side. There is just different grass fertilized with the same difficulty. And understand that the suffering you are experiencing right now, on whatever path you are on, is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It is evidence that you are human, that you are trying, and that you have not quit yet. That is not a problem. That is the whole point.